What we know and what we hear from victims and survivors is how hard it is to speak out about what has happened to them. Sometimes that is because of the context that they're in, the ongoing armed conflict. It can be because of disbelief. It can be because of shame and stigma, and those very strong social constraints on being able to speak out and speak up, or even just to seek assistance and seek support for what has happened to them. And what I think happens when you start framing sexual crimes as crimes of torture is it removes that stigma. So in a way, it allows victims and survivors to speak about the narrative themselves within this safe frame of torture, because I don't know of circumstances where people are ashamed to be a victim of torture. Quite often they are recognized as the heroes of the piece. So, it has a liberating effect, I guess, and that's what I'm hearing from victims and survivors. I had this wonderful visit to northern Iraq, and with the Jian Foundation for Human Rights and the Coalition for Justice there. And one of the examples that came out of leadership in the Yazidi community was the leader speaking up and welcoming back the women into the community regardless of what had happened. Now, we need this in all communities, and we need, leaders of all types, political, military, social, community leaders to welcome people back. And I think being able to say we welcome back all our victims of torture, is a really strong thing. And you don't have to pinpoint who suffered which particular crimes. Collectively, they get to rebuild their lives without that risk of shame. I mean, I think we have to be realistic that shame and stigma are widespread in many communities. And sometimes, even if they aren't, the individual themselves may feel it or may be afraid of it. But giving language that a president can use, for example, who may not even want to focus on sexual aspects, right? But being able to, and for those survivors to know that they come within that framework, I think would be very, very powerful. And I also think, the shame, and we can never say it enough, the shame is on the perpetrators. That's what we want to hear leaders say. The shame really needs to shift to the perpetrators where it really lies. And the same with morality. The morality is not the morality of the victims and survivors. This is the morality of people perpetrating torture of any kind, but sexual torture in particular. If we could say it louder and embrace everyone who has suffered these terrible atrocities during conflict, I think it will be, empowering.